Let me introduce my panel. We do have Blaise Gatabira, who is the CEO of R-Switch from Rwanda. And we have Leonard Chilomo, who is the operations manager for NetSwitch from Blantyre, Malawi. Karibuni, welcome. In the last two sessions, you have spoken about really the definition of IPS. What is it? What are the considerations? What's the difference with an IPS? And then Victor has talked about some of the major technical considerations, including security concerns, operational concerns in the setup. We are going to explore the question of operational, because at the end of the day, you have to run it day by day. How many engineers, operational guys are in the room? My hand is up. So at the end of the day, these are the people who wake up at midnight. It doesn't matter how well you designed it. These are the guys on VPN trying to solve issues, and those are some of the issues we are going to look at. So in operational, we're going to define it from what is the DFSP onboarding journey, what are the challenges we have to bring a participant onto a hub, what are the day-to-day transactional issues, what are the settlement issues, ongoing security concerns, dispute resolution. And because Leonard is our major operational guy, I'll ask him a simple question. What keeps you up at night?
Hello? Okay. Thank you, Tolo. So, one of the pain points at the national switch is that we have to ensure that every day we have run the end of day settlement, and the net settlement instructions have been sent to the central bank for settlement. So that keeps us up on our toes, as well as the availability of the service, especially the instant payments or the faster payments. We have to ensure that there is 100% availability. So if we don't do that, then we are going to bring about inefficiencies in the ecosystem. Thank you.
Would you care to explore a bit more some of the things that come up, some of the actual issues that you have to deal with in what you have described, especially the settlement and the day-to-day running?
So in cases of the settlement, there are times whereby as you are running the processes where you have to generate this file, where institutions have to settle each other, you would meet some system challenges. So that will mean that the next day, DFSPs are waking up to some liquidity issues because they have to meet those liquidity requirements set by the central bank. So it's really something that we have to get it right. And in terms of day-to-day operations, we are talking of issues of dispute management as well as reconciliation. Dispute management is a major pain point because there are mechanisms that we have put in place for the financial institutions to be able to log the disputes, but you find that within the financial institutions, there will be some gaps whereby they are understaffed. There's only one person that is looking at dispute issues. So you receive complaints directly from consumers, which are customers of these financial institutions, because as a hub, our customers are the financial institutions. But sometimes you would get complaints from the end users themselves. So it actually brings about inefficiencies as well as imbalances in the ecosystem. So it's something that is ongoing. We have been engaging the members on the hub to be proactive in managing disputes. Thank you.
Bwana Blaise, just to explore the concept of dispute resolution, because just to give a background, I think we were having a discussion with IPS Cell 2 weeks ago, and this seems to be a major issue when you have 3 different entities involved in a transaction. how do you set that up to avoid the operational challenges on a day-to-day? How do you protect me as a hub operator, me as a consumer, somebody down in Mombasa having fun and sending money and it's not reaching? And what do you do?
It's quite challenging, because this is something that we've been also facing at our switch. So maybe just a bit of background. When we started with one use case, which is P2P. And this came from the need of the market, where you had mainly two main players with the majority share of the market, I would say almost 99%, but that could not really transfer money from one ecosystem to another. Obviously, it came with a certain level of resistance from some players, but quickly it picked up. We've noticed in less than 18 months more than an increase of more than 350% in terms of volume of transactions, value, and the registration is also picking up. The dispute has been now one of the things that we prioritize in making sure that we have a portal where we could see all the disputes that are coming up, and also putting in place a turnaround time when these disputes should be settled. But obviously, you'll find that not these volumes, as much as they're increasing, they represent a very minor share of the transactions of these big players, so that the level of attention is not really there. We've been quite lucky to work closely with the regulator, since these players, all of them are regulated at the same time, because we didn't have really a stick that we could use at the same time to take any with the sort of authority to impose, so that they realize that this is something that they need to put on an emphasis on. So with the help of the regulator, we've been able to harmonize the system. And I would say that the visibility also with all the agents, the portal that we have currently can provide access even at a branch level of any player, so that they can see if there's a dispute, the time it takes to, if it's delaying, they can alert us, and they can also alert the other participant on the other side, so that they act on it quickly. So there's still a lot to improve in that aspect, but the trend is relatively good. As we've seen in the last, I would say 6 months, we are seeing more and more interest on being proactive, also from the participants themselves.
Thank you. You have something to add, or we can move to the next subject, Bwana Leonard?
I think I would just concur with my colleague on support from regulators, whereby the use of what we would call a whip has actually helped to bring sanity, especially in line with dispute management, and even availability of services for the faster payments. It has actually really helped, because we have several instruments that have been put out there in our ecosystem with the help of the central bank, and we have noticed a significant improvement in the uptake of digital payments. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I used to have black hair until I started onboarding the FSPs into a switch. What's your journey like? What would you, I know there are many people in the house who are looking at, I'm setting up a hub. How easy is it to bring in participants, the FSPs, into a scheme, into a switch? What's your experience? What are your challenges? What are your learnings around that? We can start with you, please.
So from our learnings, I think it's very important to start by showing the benefit of the national switch, the interoperability, and the inclusive instant payment system. In our market, it was quite obvious for some of the players, the likes of mobile money operators, to understand the benefit and also to see how they could leverage on that. For banks in our market, we realized that one, they were kind of used to a broken system, which was mostly the bilateral that were existing, and also the likes of RTGS, even if it's not instant per se, but they were like the number of transactions that we have, especially for small value. This is a business that basically we leave it to mobile money operators. So they couldn't really see an opportunity that was there. That was one. And it was not demonstrated to them so that they get to understand, especially when you start with P2P. Most of them were quite interesting in seeing, okay, should we maybe have a merchant use case come first, because this touches a bit of the business. They want to collect liquidity. They want to see how the merchants can come into their ecosystem and enjoy other products that they have, the likes of loans and so on, as well as G2P, because now they increase their collections. While for P2P, it wasn't really a use case that was that attractive. Then the third aspect was the pricing. You find that the initial pricing that we've set was making sense. This is one of the challenges when you have different players with different business models, where you find that one pricing could suit well with, let's say, mobile money operators with the interchange, while for banks, it becomes then extremely expensive all of a sudden because it touches deposit. So the core business is different, and yet you have to have everyone, all these players connected. So getting to agree on a type of pricing was quite a challenge. I would say that it took us months to reach to a certain level of agreement. Even for this, we agreed to have something in place that will be there for 12 months, after which we'll relook at it, and maybe revise accordingly. And with this, we are still also thinking about other use cases as they come, how the issue of pricing will be tackled. That's, I would say, those three main things. Then recently, we also, when we talk about inclusivity, another challenge came up about small fintechs, where you realize that there are a number of requirements that they need to fulfill from a regulatory standpoint, but also some of these players need like sponsoring banks to be able to settle. And looking at the muscle that they have, it's quite challenging for them to be able to scale easily, especially when they are still at an early stage with limited capital. So this is also something that we've seen as a challenge, and we are yet to really find, I would say, a response to that. But this is one segment that we know if we manage to tackle it well, will have a significant impact in the market.
Mr. Chilomo, the day-to-day we are connecting to the switch, what are those challenges? when you have a participant and they are starting their onboarding journey, right? You have the security setup, you have the API. What are the main pain points you experience there?
All right, so when we have a participant that is onboarding to the switch, one of the pain points is that the standard that we are using currently, we are on ISO 8583 for all the use cases. So you find that there are others who are advocating for web-based standards, which is good, which is the way to go. But then as an industry, there is that challenge whereby you find that for an FSP to find those skills, most of them would complain to say, we wouldn't find those better developers out there to develop an interface based on 8583 to integrate to the switch. So it's quite a challenge, because some of them we have to handhold them to explain how this whole spec works and how they ought to approach it. So it's really quite a pain point. And another aspect is that, as my colleague mentioned, we have fintechs that are coming up. They are really keen on integrating to the switch. They have all these bright ideas, but then when they come to the table, you find that they have to go all through these stringent conditions, starting from the regulatory, as well as they are even subjected to joining fees, which is pegged in thousands of dollars. And some of the arguments that are put across by the strongest boys in the club, those are the commercial banks, they would say, no, we just wouldn't allow anyone. Of course, they have the best interests of the ecosystem at heart, because they are looking at safeguarding the interest, to say, we don't want to introduce issues of cybersecurity and other liquidity challenges, because most of these fintechs are not well established, so they would rather have them integrate to the switch through commercial banks, which these fintechs, on the other hand, are saying, no, if we approach commercial banks, they are also giving us these whole conditions to fulfill, which are somehow impossible. So there is that tug of war, but eventually there are some who manage to raise funds and go through those stringent assessments, and they pull through, they integrate, but others out there sitting and are trying to integrate to the switch. So it's really that struggle. On the other hand, you're looking at promoting financial inclusion. On the other hand, you have these other really valid reasons that make sense in safeguarding the ecosystem. So it is quite a challenge.
Sure. All right, thanks, gentlemen. Any other thing you'd like to add on that? Something in your experience?
Well, something that I would like to add, I think was mentioned in the previous panel, is also regarding the data collection. What we've seen is, with the number of transactions that we have and people onboarding, registering through different participants, we've been trying to see how we could really learn from the information, either from a transaction standpoint or those who are registering, the age, the gender, and so on. And we from the little information that we got, we realized to see that there's still opportunity to improve the service, and but it's yet to be complete. One of the challenge that we are facing is, one is the data accuracy, and also clarity in terms of what we understand by data privacy and the consent that comes with the requirement from the regulators, where you find that there's a lot of opportunities, and obviously, yes, there's the aspect of that data protection, but to what extent do we, there's a fine line between those two and how you could leverage now the information that you get to serve better the ecosystem. I would say that we've been quite lucky in Rwanda to have decision makers that are quite understanding and who are flexible, but we are yet really to get what to the level where we would like to be, and I think it's good that we have different people here around with different experiences. It should be good also to maybe also reflect on it a bit, on how we could tackle that in a better way so that we leverage what we could get.
I apologize, in the interest of lunch, we will not take questions, but the panel is there for, you can always meet us on the sidelines. So I'll ask Mr. Chilomo to close for us with a word of advice, experience, anything. It's your show, sir.
Okay, so one thing I would put out there is that in this movement of inclusive Eastern payments, I think it's recommended that all stakeholders should realize that we are trying to complement each other's efforts and not compete in a way. Yes, competition is there, it's good for the environment, we have to make profits and all that, but when it comes to promoting financial inclusion, I think we have to set some of the interests aside, and then we have to look at the greater good that we are going to achieve. Because as it stands at the moment, for example, like in Malawi, the majority are in the rural areas. The majority of the population are in the rural areas. And it's not easy to get this majority to adopt the usage of digital payments. So, but to achieve that, you need a concerted effort whereby financial service providers should realize that they have to go above and beyond. They shouldn't just look at the bottom line of the business, but they have to look at the common good and what it would bring to the economy and to improve people's lives. Thank you.
Zikomo Bwiri. That's how you say thank you in Malawi. Steve.